Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Susan Bernstein. If you would, I would love it if you would go in the chat box and make sure you can hear me. Can you tell me if you can hear me? There's a chat box next to you, and that will let me know that you're able to hear me. So if somebody would just type in the chat box, can you hear me or not? Yay! Thank you, Jenny, and welcome, Kiara and Raphael. Lovely to have you here. I know there's some others of you. It would be great if you would introduce yourself in the chat box and share a line or two about what brings you here. I'm so happy to have you. It's really my total pleasure. You're letting me give a big gift from my heart, so thank you. I couldn't do this without you. Welcome, Steve from Santa Ana, and Amir from San Francisco. I know we have somebody else from not San Francisco, from the Bay Area, Rafael from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Shalat, also from the Bay Area, Fremont, welcome. Nice to have you here. And Danica, I hope I'm saying that right, from LA. Great to have you here. And Catherine from Boston. Yay, the other side of the country. Thrilling to have you here. Catherine, thank you. Oh God, I know we've got somebody from Scottsdale, Arizona, where I grew up, and somebody from Fort Collins, Colorado, a city that's near and dear to my heart. I have a very funny story of what happened to me there, getting mixed up in my 20s for Mary Lou Retton, who my hair is not the same anymore, but I'm a teeny tiny gymnast type. And that story happened in Fort Collins, so kind of humorous. Anyway, I want to go ahead and get us right started. Thank you so much. We're going to have more people joining. But for those of you I haven't had the opportunity to meet either through a webinar, an in-person, one-on-one coaching that we've done either by Skype or phone, if you haven't had the chance to meet me, hi, I'm Susan Bernstein. I'm a career and leadership coach, and I specialize in transitions in the workplace, whether that transition is you changing jobs, you trying to figure out and reinvent yourself, which is what tonight is about, or it might be other internal changes, like you're going for a promotion, or you've got some kind of trouble in the workplace. I work a lot with people in conflict at work. That's a transition from conflict to cooperation and collaboration, and I love working on that. So I work with people both in those kinds of transitions, about the career itself, as well as once you're in work. I'm really, really happy to share what I'm going to share with you tonight, which has so much to do with what I've learned over the last 15 years. It's things I wish I knew when I made a big career change out of management consulting, work that didn't fit me very well, I wasn't well suited for, into gradually the work I'm doing now, which I truly love, getting to work with people one-on-one and also groups and teams and companies about their careers. It's very, very personal work. So we're going to spend about 75 to 90 minutes together. I hope that you have paper and a pen handy. I would also deeply encourage you to turn off your mobile phone. Oh my God, I know I'm telling you to do that, but I want you to focus. I want you to take away as many distractions as you possibly can, because I have a jam-packed lot of content to share with you, and I think you're going to find it incredibly valuable. So I want to make sure that you are in a space that is most conducive to your best learning. I also deeply encourage you to write by hand if you can, and some of you may be listening in audio-only mode, driving or something like that. I understand if you're not writing. But the rest of you, there's something really powerful that happens when we handwrite versus typing. So if you can take your notes that way, I think you're going to find there's a neural pathway that gets connected in your brain when you write that way. And I've got a lot to share with you. So without further ado, let's jump in. My intention today is to give you the information and the inspiration to craft your career so you can share what's most sensational about yourself and reap the rewards. So I'd love to know, I want to use the chat box a lot tonight. So if you're watching us online, please use it. It's a great way to create community. And I want to just say up front, could we please all treat each other with great respect and with the care and concern that each of us would want for ourselves as we, share ideas and thoughts, and keep these things private if you would. I don't expect you to, disclose anything really, really personal, but I'd like to say that out of respect. So I'd like you to use the chat box tonight. And I would love you to put in the chat box, what brings you here tonight? What's going on for you? Are you just curious? Are you in the throes of a career change? Are you contemplating something? So if you take a moment and just share some little tidbit, I would love you to do that. That's going to make our webinar that much more powerful tonight. So Kiara says, my bracelets are jangling. I've got no bracelets on. I don't know what's moving. That's really funny. Are you still hearing a distracting noise? Kiara? It's better. I don't know what it is, but I'll try not to move my hand so much. The only thing is my ring all by itself, but that's probably about it. Erica, thank you. From San Diego, one of my favorite cities to visit. Absolutely love that place. If you would just put, a word or two, guys, be a little daring. It's part of what's required in career reinvention. Emily says you're close to retirement, but want to work, yay, and do something that you want to do. That's what tonight is all about, doing something you all want to do. I really think that's so important, as opposed to feeling obligated to do something for all kinds of reasons that we get into. Anybody else? I would really love to hear from you. So use the chat box if you would. Catherine in Boston is in the throes of a career shift. Yeah, so this can be some really valuable things for you tonight, Catherine. Wonderful. Love to hear from one or two more of you. But really, tonight is about information, processes, and inspiration for your career, because I want your career to bring out what's most sensational about you and have you reap the rewards. Thank you all. These are great. Let's see. Manish says 10 years in sales and an MBA and you want to switch to market strategy. Yes. Amir, experience with a more natural flow with my career. Ooh, juicy, juicy. I love this. I think you're going to find the way that I talk tonight has a lot to do with natural flow. Amir, thank you. Beautiful words you've chosen there. Kiara, looking for a switch from a career in the digital space to one that helps people more directly. I am actually seeing a lot of this, Kiara. I think there's a hunger, there's a digital divide that can happen, and it divides our life, into virtual, and some of us really crave real people to people, seeing eye to eye, literally, not just you seeing my eyeballs here on your digital screen, but, where else can you get a handshake or a hug? So yes, I'm seeing a lot of that. Raphael, looking for new opportunities. Wonderful. And Erica, you lost your business as the technologies become obsolete, but you haven't lost yourself, and you haven't lost the ability, Erica, to create and generate. So I really encourage you not to think of that so much as a loss, but as a transition, a changing. Something is shifting. You haven't lost you, and that's the most important thing ever. Okay. So we're going to get into this information and inspiration, and I'm going to share with you, don't try to say this 7 times fast, 7 shifts to work that fits. 7 shifts to work that fits. That's a tongue twister, eh? So you're welcome to type in the chat box throughout. I will be reading that as best I can, and also doing my best to pay attention to what I have to share with you tonight. All right, we're going to look at 7 different shifts. And these are shifts in your thinking, your attitude, your outlook. The first shift I want you to think about is to know why you want to make a change. Well, why in the world would I start off with this? Wait, Susan, why do I want to make a change? I hate my job. Isn't that enough reason? Actually, no. What I find is that when people start with the negative, they start with why they don't want to be somewhere, it doesn't support them. That's pretty interesting in itself. What I want you to get at is what's the positive about why you want to make a change. So sometimes what you can do is write down for yourself what's driving you completely crazy at work. If your real reason for making a change is that you just hate where you are, use that energy and harness it and let it tell you, well, if this is what I don't want, turn it around into what you do want. So I have a lot of people want to leave places. One of the most common reasons I hear people want to change their work is because of politics, the other people that they're working with. And that's I understand. We want to resonate with the people who we work with. And if we're not, that's just not much fun. So how do you turn that around? What kinds of people do you want to work with? Maybe they're positive. Maybe they're upbeat. Maybe they're the kind of people you want to hang out with after work. I hear, somebody has a good, thank you. I'm going to move my headset just a little bit. Help any? Please do me a yes or no if that helped. Um, so thank you very much. Thank you guys. I love you. You're awesome. Thank you so much for being upfront with me. I really appreciate it. So I invite you to type in the chat box the positive reason why you want to make a change. What's the inspiration in your own life? Like, it might be like, Kiara, I want to be closer to people. I really want to be able to feel those other people. I want to know them. I want to be personal. With Manish, you want to do market strategy. What is it that excites you about market strategy? Maybe it's seeing the dynamics. Maybe you love the analytics. Whatever it is for you, I'd like you to write that for yourself. And then if you would type that in the chat box. What's the positive reason that you want to make a change? By the way, I'm drinking a little green drink here. It is green. So you're like, what's that? It's my healthy veggie drink. Let's see what's popping up here. Rick from Woodridge, Illinois, welcome. You're worth more. Yes, you can contribute more than you did in your last role instead of settling. Yes, really super important. It's one of the reasons people work with me is to value themselves. Super important. Emily wants to be in an environment that is more helping people than trying to gouge them for money. I can't tell you how much I'm hearing people say, Emily, and this is for everybody, but they want to feel real and genuine and authentic in their work and not be just like, show me the money, like show me your smile, show me a hug, show me something real. Yeah. And Kiara, you're more inspired by working directly to help people than designing ones and zeros. Yeah, I hear you. Yes. Manish, you like change and don't want long periods of stagnation. Raphael, you want to avoid the Brazilian crisis. Okay. So I want you to put that in a more, if you would, into a more positive. You want to avoid something. So what is it you do want? Like you want ease in your financial situation. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm doing a little tweak here to help everybody to show what I'm saying in that little rejigger there. There's nothing wrong with wanting to avoid the Brazilian crisis, but there's a deeper positive under that, and I invite you to find that for yourself. Let's see. Catherine is fascinated with how much the world is changing. It has to change in the next 20 years, and you want to help build a positive future. Whoa, it's beautiful. Are you all getting the energy of who's on this call? It's no accident. It's truly no accident that you all have come together. And I invite those of you who have not yet had the chance to participate, please do join in. There's really a lot to get from tonight and to feel that energy. Hopefully you're feeling some of that. Okay, so that's the first shift. Know the positive reason why you want to make a change. Write that down for yourself. And here's another piece about that. When you write that down, it should energize you. It should make you go, woo! All right, maybe not that loud. That's me. But the reason I say that is you do want it to inspire you. You want it to, I'm watching my headset here. You want it to fill you with energy so that when you look at it, here's something you can do for yourself, is to look at it each day and notice the energy that gives you and harness that energy even before you ever have the job. So when I was leaving management consulting, a job that I was very, very good at, but I really didn't enjoy, I knew that the reason I wanted to make a change was somewhat like most of you here, it seems like. I wanted work that was more positive. Most of my work was crafting Excel spreadsheets, doing analysis, making PowerPoint slides out of my analytical findings. And it was too much in front of a computer for somebody who's so personal. So 5 to 10% of my work was getting to talk to clients about the changes that we were making in their organizations. And I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that one-on-one. I enjoyed being actually able to hear their fears and calm their fears, things like that. But if I could have it my way, I really wanted to talk to them about much more personal things, their personal lives. So I got in touch with that energy of wanting to be really personal with people. And I found myself doing it all day long. I found myself being personal with the checker at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or wherever I was buying groceries, with the admin assistant who was working on our projects. Just being that. So be that energy that you want to be, and that will help carry you. And that great comment about being in the flow. I'm so loving those words. Um, that whole idea of being with the flow is so. I'm looking for. I think that's Manisha's comment, and I'm just looking back. No, I'm sorry. It's Amir's comment. That being in the flow is generated through you and how you act. So if you bring that energy to everything anyway, it makes it more natural for this career transition to happen for you with ease. This is something that you probably won't hear from a lot of other people, because part of what I love is being a student of how our energy works. And I see it so often in the clients that I work with. Steve Yu says, I'm an investment manager and you love it. Beautiful. I think and invest for the long term, but people I meet, from colleagues to clients, are mostly short term. Beautiful. So you want to be more long term with people. And a part of that is in helping people to understand. Sounds like you have some education and inspiration to do for people about why the long term is so important to them, and not just thinking short term. And I bet there are some lessons and some great stories that you have to share with them. So some of that may be in you helping educate. That can change. And who knows, maybe you're going to have a whole new philosophy out there about how people should be thinking about their money. Okay, I'm going to move on to the second shift. I don't know if you can tell. I don't know how big the picture shows up for you, but this is a bunch of women, and they're covered in mud. They've just done, one of those mud runs, the Tough Mudder, that kind of a thing. And look how, I don't know if you can see it, but hopefully you can. They're like so happy. When you finish a run like that, any of you who do any kind of sports like that, I don't actually run myself anymore, but I do ride. So centuries, metric centuries in my case. Century is 100 miles. A metric century is about 63 miles, something like that, 100 kilometers. You feel like so good and so high. So the second point ties in with my first point. Be clear about how you want to feel in a new role. What's the feeling? So I want you to each write down the feelings that you'd like to feel in a new role, and be as specific as you can. So if you write down something like happy, that's great. There's nothing wrong with being happy, for sure. But what kind of happy? Like jump up and down happy, a calm, a peaceful, a tranquil? What do you want to feel in a new role? What are the emotions that you'd like to experience in a new role? So if you would, please, I'd love to see those in the chat box. What are the emotions that you are looking forward to feeling in a new role? Because that's one of the ways that you know that that role fits for you, is the emotions that it brings up for you. So please take a moment, if you would, write this down for yourself, the way you want to feel in a new role. And then please type that in the chat box. Amir says, inspired, energized, yet peaceful. Yeah, really nice blend there. I can get that. And Amir, I'm just going to ask you for out of interest here, can you let yourself feel that in your body? Steve says, same here. Yeah. Yep. So you can use that. Again, that's fuel for you. Kiara, balanced, engaged, inspired, inspiring. Look forward to doing it. Yes. Rick, challenged with the work, secure with the company's stability, happy with the geography and where it requires me to live. Yes, geography is becoming a big issue for people, especially given commutes that people have. And even if you get to work virtually, like what about the community that you're going to be in? I've been working more and more with people about their location, really important part that goes hand in hand with work that you've brought up there, Rick. Thank you. Emily says the same, but I want to feel free to say and do what I feel without fear of reprimand. So you want freedom of expression. Yeah, that freedom of expression, Emily, very important. Yeah. Anybody else care to type in before I move on to the next, a third shift? Okay. Sensational shift number 3. Shift your focus out of trying to find the one perfect job. How many of you have done that for yourself? Oh, I gotta find it. I gotta find it. I gotta find it. The thing. You're looking for the it. I know that I was guilty of this when I was leaving management consulting. I gotta find it. It's like when people are dating and they're like, I have to find the one. When we do that to ourselves, we limit ourselves. So my encouragement to you is to break out of that thinking of that there's one perfect role and to open up to yourself. What if there's a bunch of possibilities? What if there are a bunch of opportunities that you might not even know about right now? And if they could come to mind for you, what would that be like? So I'm gonna go on, but let me ask if there's any questions about any of the 3 shifts I've talked about so far. Shift 1, shift 2, or shift 3. Questions, thoughts, observations too. I'm welcome those. Again, use the chat box if you'd like to chime in here. Okay, I'm going to move on to sensational shift number 4. This one is so important that I tell it to friends, I tell it to clients all the time. I'm constantly talking about this one. I have people tell me all the time, I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Have you ever said that? You can say a yes in the chat box if you see whoever said that. I'm trying to figure out what to do next. It's okay. There's no shame in it. I've done it myself, for sure. But the thing is that when you want work that truly fits, I like that. Emily says, I say it all the time. Okay, so this is your chance to make a shift, Emily, your sensational shift number 4. I want to feel it out. So here's the thing I want you to do. Feeling it out comes from your heart. And research now shows that we get our intuitions. Our inner teacher works from our heart first and then our head. There's research from an institute down in Boulder Creek, California, which is close to Santa Cruz, called the Institute for Heart Math. And what they've found is that the heart registers an intuition before the brain does. That's really important. Our hearts really are, if you want to connect to your spirit or your soul, your heart is a much better place to do that than your mind. Because your mind, like mine, like everybody's around us, is influenced by all kinds of thoughts that aren't our own. You ever notice that you start hanging around negative people and all of a sudden you're like, what just happened? I was in a great mood. Now I'm around a bunch of negative people and I just went negative. Or you come home from a day of work, you had a great day, you turn on the news and you're like, I was feeling really good and now I feel depressed or I feel wound up and anxious. We get influenced by so many thoughts around us from so many kinds of people. And the mind is busy with those. Well, imagine if you're trying to figure out your career and your mind has like 10,000 thoughts going at the same time. It's like 10,000 little Rube Goldberg machines with little things flying here and there. It's like giant spaghetti bowl in your brain. Anybody relate to that? Yeah. So I'm a big believer that instead of figuring it out, you want to feel it out. So what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to take your 2 hands and place them over your heart. Like me and this woman, doesn't matter which hand's on top or bottom. Close your eyes for just a minute. And breathe in and out. Imagine you can breathe in through your heart and out through your heart, even though you're breathing through your nose. Just let yourself imagine that you have a heart breath, a breath in and out through your heart. And you're just getting in touch with that heart. And you're letting your brain say hello to your heart. And you're letting your heart come on back with a hello. And then I'd like you to drop into that energy of your heart. Just focus there around your heart. and ask your heart to tell you one teeny weeny itsy bitsy thing it wants you to know about you making a career transition. It might be some kind of job, but it might be, it whispers some wisdom like, I know you can do it. Or it might whisper something to you like, keep going, you're doing a great job. So I'd like you to just notice that. Notice whatever's coming up for you. Be quiet and tune in there. And then write down for yourself what you either hear from your heart's guidance. Some people see guidance as pictures in their mind's eye. Some people feel it as an expression in their body. And if you don't get anything, please don't worry. This is very new for most people. So I'd like you to just write down for yourself what wisdom, if any, you got from your heart about your career transition. And I would love, 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 love to see in the chat box any of the wisdom you care to share with us about what you got when you tuned into your heart. Yeah, Rick, the location of your job is important after moving 11 times for your career. So may wherever you go next, number 12 be your settle in place. Yeah. Thank you, Rick. Kiara, your heart told you you are on the right path. It's okay to take time. Whoa, that's beautiful. Ginny got from her heart, do what you need to do. Take good and better care of yourself, of you. Oh, so beautiful. Omar's heart said to him, follow me to your happiness. I'm going to cry, you guys, out of happy tears. These are beautiful. I can feel your hearts. Amir, remember not to force things. Keep taking steps in the direction you are going. Beautiful. Well, there's your flow for you too. Your heart knows. Yeah, these are really, really beautiful. Emily, stop the procrastination. Yeah, your heart wants you to get moving. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. So this is a practice that you can do for yourself any day, anytime. I highly recommend you make a daily practice, a time, like a ritual for yourself to check in with your heart and ask for guidance. It's the easiest way I know to get in touch with your spirit or your soul, to get in touch with what you really want. And do you notice that none of these things were like essays, right? None of the things that your heart said to you were like, you should really go and consider moving a lateral move into that other department, and you should talk to Mr. Green Jeans. I'm making up something silly, obviously. The heart doesn't give complicated guidance. It's kind of amazing that way. So I really encourage you to listen to what your heart is telling you, because you'll get simple guidance. And we need that simplicity in such a complicated world. So thank you all. Okay, sensational shift number 5. Don't expect career clarity to happen in a flash. This very much mimics or really resonates with a lot of the things that you all said about what your heart is telling you. Like Kiara's, it's okay to take time, and Amir's, remember not to force things. What often happens when people are trying to figure out what they want to do next or even feel it, it's like we expect some boom, lightning in the sky, like God is going to write in the sky, Susan, leave management consulting and become a career and leadership coach. It didn't happen like that. No way. So career clarity happens in little bits. And one of the best tools I know for tracking your own career change, and I encourage all of my clients to do this when I'm working with them one-on-one, is to get a journal and write in it. So, maybe you make a practice for yourself every day of getting quiet with your heart, tuning in, doing that heart breath in and out through your heart, and then writing whatever comes up. You'll be amazed and how fast that actually moves you. You know, whatever insights you have, it's really that you need a series of little insights to make the bigger switch. So I thought when I left management consulting, first of all, I was terrified to leave. But when I finally left, it was after, I don't recommend this as a way for making career change. I was working myself probably literally to death. I was working that particular week when I knew I had to leave. I had two 100-hour work weeks back to back. That's not unheard of in management consulting. I think it's gotten better. People recognize that we're not robots, and work-life balance has gotten better. But what I found, anyway, I wound up working on presentation. I went up to make a presentation to a bunch of senior executives at this healthcare company, of all places. I'm doing PowerPoint. I push show the first slide, the big title slide. And then I don't know what happened between that and waking up on the floor, face up, with a bunch of people standing over me, hovering over me, saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I passed out from exhaustion. This is not a good way to make your career clarity happen in a flash. But in a flash, I knew, okay. It's like, "Uncle," I cried, "Uncle, enough." And said, I have to get out of this. This is just too much for me. So that's what helped me know I actually didn't leave the firm. I didn't leave my consulting firm right away. What I did do is took an internal role. I told my managers, I said, I can't do this level of intensity anymore. And is there an internal role that I could take so I'd have less travel? I wouldn't have the client demands. And they created a role for me. And it was really fun kind of HR and training role where I was managing a global mini MBA program. So much fun. After that, then I was watching and I was like, I'm so excited about the .com, excitement. This was the late 90s, early 2000s. I was so excited by that. And I kept saying, I'm sitting on the sidelines. I'm sitting on the sidelines. I'm sitting on the sidelines. And finally, I thought, what am I going to do next? And I Googled, probably didn't Google at that time. I probably used some other search engine. But I put in the words creativity and education into a search engine. And I found then kind of a precursor to a blog, this information that this woman, Marcia Connor, wrote about learning and creativity. And I thought, this is fascinating. I wind up sending her a note and I say, Marcia, could I talk to you sometime? What you write about is fascinating. Maybe you could help me generate some ideas about jobs. I sent her this email, on the email to her that was on her website, thinking, yeah, maybe I'll hear from her in a week or two, or maybe I'll have to reach out again. An hour later, my phone rang and it was Marcia. And we were on the phone for an hour and a half with her telling me all about the industry and then saying, you need to be at this conference next week. So I was like, okay, how am I going to do that? She's like, aren't you a management consultant? Don't you have like 1 million frequent flyer miles? I'm like, yeah. Well, where am I going to stay? And she said, why don't you stay with me in my hotel room? I mean, when things are in the flow, they are just in the flow. I couldn't have figured out that she was going to offer me a hotel room. And I said, and the conference, she said, I'm organizing it. You're in for free. I was just stunned. I was absolutely stunned. We wound up being like sisters, staying up late at night, telling stories. And I wound up with 7 different companies in the online learning space offering me jobs because I had worked with big companies, a big company about an MBA. And at the time, companies were trying to build up their internal MBA-like education. And it was just like, wow. And then the next change happened because the market crashed. And my .com went boom, .bomb. And then that's actually when I learned to listen to my heart, because in a 5-week period in February of 2001, I left my marriage. I moved out of the house. My father had a traumatic brain injury that thankfully he survived. I had 2 surgeries, and then I got laid off from my job. All that in 5 little weeks, right? It's not the way I recommend making change, but I knew I had to do something for work, and my head kept going, go back to management consulting. You'll make lots of money. And the whole body said, no, can't do that. So my heart, I tuned into my heart because my head was so confused. I mean, my whole life had been turned upside down. So I tuned into my heart because I had no other choice. And I was not a heart-based person at that time. I was so analytical. I was a strategy consultant and a marketing director and was always looking at numbers and, planning and strategizing. And I couldn't, plan for the next day because I didn't know what was going to happen. So my heart said to me, hey, you always wanted to study psychology. But I thought, yeah, what am I going to do? Wait till I'm a 70-year-old woman to do that? So I went back to school to study psychology, thinking I was going to study it, become a psychotherapist. And then during my training, I wound up working with a 9-year-old girl who unfortunately became suicidal. Thank God she didn't take her own life. I'm very, very grateful that she didn't. But one of the things that came out of that was that she woke me up that I don't want to sit in a little room with one person after another who's depressed and anxious. I want to work with people about the future. And I had been just to earn money while I was going to my PhD. I had gone back to my MBA program and was working in the Career Center, originally helping students get into management consulting, my old world. But then it was resumes, then it was cover letters, then it was career change. And oh yeah, by the way, the universe kept giving me a nudge because I had students saying to me, will you work with my wife? Can you work with my boyfriend? Questions like that. And in 2005, after working at Berkeley since 2001, I hung out my own shingle. So you don't know exactly how this is going to happen. None of these, the only big flashes really were unfortunate ones where I passed out. So a corollary to this point here is don't, you don't want the career clarity to come to you in a flash. Please don't also wait for something really terrible to make your change happen. I've been much more thoughtful about the changes that I make now and making them while things are still positive. And it sometimes takes more impetus and takes a little more oomph and energy. But I want to just ask, any questions about this? Any thoughts, any insights that you've gotten from this number 5 sensational shift, this 5th shift? Love to see. Again, use the chat box, please, and share any insights you've gotten, things that this is helping you to realize, this shift. What are you becoming aware of? What does this bring up for you? Have you expected boom, thunder and lightning, and someday you're just going to get it overnight? Emily says, since I'm almost 60, I have fears that I won't be able to do what I want in enough time. So all the reason that your heart is telling you stop the procrastination. Do what you are able to right now, and it will put you in the process, Emily. Do what you're able to right now. Take one tiny step. One teeny weeny, itsy bitsy, seems micro. Even your little micro movements matter. Because once you start, then the pressure is off. It's like you get into that word I'm going to go back to that Amir used, flow. You get into the flow. So, Emily, I would just ask you to think for yourself, or even not even think. Ask your heart for yourself. What's one little itsy bitsy move I could make next? Write that down for yourself and make a commitment to do it for yourself. Anybody else? Any comments on this? Omar, be open to all possibilities, even the ones that don't fit your narrative of a perfect move. That's a really important piece. Yeah, I didn't know that I was I'm going to be a psychotherapist. I thought about it since I was 7 years old. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm trained as one, but I choose to use this work, in a way where I don't take my clients back into their past. We're moving into the future, which is where I'm more interested. Hey, I was a strategy consultant. Strategy isn't about the past. It's about looking in the, out the front window, not in the rear view mirror. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, Omar. Thank you for that really important piece. Beautiful. Thank you. Amir says, an awareness that the small steps can snowball. You begin to uncover new things as the steps accumulate. That's how I see flow slowly taking form. Beautiful. Yes. It's like that energy spirals on itself, gets bigger and bigger. I like to think of it also as a spiral up. And in watching myself, sometimes when I start spiraling down, whoa, I'm going through the same path, but it's taking me down. And it's like, how can I use that energy to spiral and uplift me? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to sensational shift number 6. You're still always welcome anytime through the webinar tonight to use the chat box and share your thoughts, observations, questions, anything you like. Okay, sensational shift number 6. Test it out, don't stress it out. What do I mean by that? I wish I could do this. Let me see if I can do this. These are my toes. I'm doing that for a silly reason because I want you to put your toe in the water. I want you to come up with little bitty experiments that you can run. So the thing is that people try to make these big, bold moves. Like, I'm going to change my industry and my function all at once. Oh my gosh, that's just like so monumentally big that it happens for very few people. In general, we do need to make those small steps that, like Amir is saying, can snowball. So what I suggest is, what are little experiments that you can do for yourself that will let you test out a new area, a new function, a new something? So those experiments, well, I actually want to hear from you. What's an experiment that will let you test out a new career idea for yourself without full on leaving your job, quitting your job, and going and doing something you've never done before? What are some ways for you to experiment? I would love you to type some in the chat box. Anything that occurs to you. What's an experiment that you could run that would let you test something out without full on giving yourself to it? Any of the ideas that come to you? How can you test something out? Umar, starting your own self-proprietor LLC that you run out of your house on the side. I did it and love it. Okay, so for some people, it might be something you do on the side. That's a great way. Some people call that a side hustle or moonlighting, doing something, a little something on the side. Now, generally, we need enough ideas of what that might be. So if you're earlier in the stage, you might actually do that. For example, maybe you go do an informational interview with somebody who's in a kind of a field that you're really interested in. That's what I did with this woman, Marcia. I'm like, I don't know anything about online learning, which is the world she was in, which is all about, creativity and learning in businesses. But she was doing it online. And I didn't know anything about that. I had been in strategy consulting and, running this mini MBA. But I got it fast enough from our conversation. And then she introduced me to other people. So it's a great idea to go out and meet people who are doing something even tangentially related to what you're interested in. And then you start asking them, could you introduce me? I'd love to keep meeting people in this area. Could you introduce me to some other people? And generally people will say, yes, I'd be happy to. And then you keep doing that. And it's like all of a sudden, you've grown a giant, from one little seedling, you've grown a giant tree. Another great thing to do is to volunteer or work for somebody else. I encourage you not, unless it's a volunteer organization, if you're working for a company and trying out a little project with them, which is a great way to put your toes in the water, I encourage you not to do that for totally free. I encourage you to do that in some way where there's something that you're exchanging. That something doesn't have to be money. That something could be that you want mentorship, that you want a once a week, 1 hour conversation with somebody about what it is that you're interested in. Does that make sense? So I would like you all in the chat box to please type in one experiment that you could run for yourself. What's an experiment that you might run? You can even just put in one of the ideas that I've shared and just say you're going to do that, like an informational interview, like some volunteering, like a project for a company. Which one of those or something else sounds good to you as a way to test something out? Kiara says, I'm embracing doing a collection of things rather than being one thing. Yes, so that's another way to break out of this idea of I got to find the one thing. For Kiara, you're setting up an Etsy shop, beautiful, to sell my knitting. have been talking to folks and doing research on what sells. Hey, if you feel like it and you want to give us your Etsy name, feel free. I'd love to promote you and your knitting. That's fun. But what you're saying is what other people can be doing to do the research on what sells. Beautiful. Omar, you did one of your ideas, an informal meet and greet, and that led to more networking and real interviews. You've expressed openness to project or contract work. Wonderful. And for those of you who are interested, Kiara's knitting can be found at 3 Cats Studio. That's the number 3, and then Cats Studio. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. So I want to just piggyback on Kiara's idea, or I go from cats to piggyback to piggies. The other piece that she's saying here is that instead of looking for just one thing, some people, it's just not right to just have one job or one career. Some of us are what are called polymaths. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. But polymaths are people with multiple ideas, multiple passions, and they like to do them at the same time, and not necessarily all at the same time, but have them going in their lives at the same time. So for some people, I think it's a great idea to have what I would call either a portfolio career or a slash career. What do I mean by that? I mean that, for example, for me, I'm a coach, I'm an author, and I'm a speaker. So I coach people both one-on-one and in groups. I'm an author. I write. So I have a number of ebooks, by the way, you can find on my website, sensationalshift.com under shop. And I'm a speaker. I get paid to do public speaking. So what about you? What could you put in your portfolio of things you do together, or slash? I'm an author slash speaker slash coach. Yeah. Catherine, attend lectures and meetups. Meetups are a great thing to do. Beautiful, beautiful, Catherine. In areas that you find interesting, though not necessarily related to what I've done. That's what helps build the bridge. When you can start to talk the language, what happens when you start going to enough meetings, start immersing yourself with people and start to hear how they talk about what they're doing, and then it becomes kind of second nature to you. Kiara is going to be interface designer, a knitter, a gemologist or a genealogist, and a mindfulness coach. I don't know what a genealogist is otherwise, but those are all wonderful, beautiful. Well, and knitting, I can see, I can start to see how some of these things fit together. You've got to be mindful in your design. Knitting, it can make you feel very mindful. I should have told you this at the top of the thing. I'm going to have to go close my blinds for just a second. It'll take me 1 second, because otherwise we're going to get flooded with too much. Genealogist. Okay, hang on. I'll be right back, you guys. I love my office, and sometimes the light is just too much. Okay, let's keep moving. We got sensational shift. Omar, it's not always sunny in Oakland. This month, thankfully. After last month, it's nice to have the sun. But it's not San Francisco, where it can be foggy this time of day. Okay, sensational shift number 7, and I've got some more. I've got a process that I want to show you that I take people through when I'm working with them one-on-one in career transition. Sensational shift number 7 is don't look for a job. What? Make it your job to create a role that truly fits. What do I mean by this? Some of you who know me already have heard this, so if you would, bear with me. But take it in again, why not? ROLE, for me, is an acronym that stands for Return on Life Energy. In other words, make it your job to maximize your role, to minimize your energy drains and maximize your energy gains. So what you can do for yourself is make a list of what your energy drains are in your current work and past work. Also make a list of what your energy gains are in your past and current work. And then, one by one, take each of your drains and turn them around into what does that mean you desire. So you're going to have 3 lists, a drains list, a gains list, and a desires list. Your drains might be things like the politics of an organization, or the crazy long commute, or people who drive you nuts, or messed up processes, whatever it is. You're going to make a list of those. You're going to make a list of your energy gains, the things that thrill you and fill you, things you look forward to. So it might be really interesting project you're on, or getting to use your people skills, Or maybe getting to travel. For some people, travel is on their drains list. See, we're each individual. It's like our thumbprint or our signature. It's ours. So you're going to take then your list of drains one by one, and you're going to turn it into your desires by turning it around. So if it drains you to, for example, have a long commute, what you desire is a short commute. What does that mean? Maybe for you that's 15 minutes. Maybe for you that's an hour. I don't know, but you do. So that's a process. And then you want to take each one of your gains one by one and see if you can tune it up. If there's something that you know about that gain, about how you'd like it better. So like for me in management consulting, it was a real gain to get to work with people one-on-one. But if I could tune it up to be even more of a desire, the way I really wanted it was to be talking about personal stuff instead of talking about big picture corporate strategy, if that makes sense. So what I would love you to do in the chat box right now is to type in one of your drains, something that drains you in a work context. And it doesn't have to be your most personal one that you're not comfortable sharing. Make it one that you're comfortable sharing with us all. Would people write down a drain, something that's draining them at work? As we look at role, return on life energy. Okay, good. Incongruent leadership. Yes, Stephanie. Oh my gosh, I hear this one a lot. Yep. Emily, having to judge people by their wealth. Oh, so you're in fundraising. Yeah, you don't want to have to. Are you wealthy or not? If you're not, oh, sorry. Yeah. Omar, lack of clear decision making that leads to loose ends and endless scope creep. Ooh, yikes. Catherine, unrealistic and constantly changing goals. Kiara, too much work in unrealistic deadlines. Yeah, it's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not a robot. I don't work 24/7, 365. Yes. Amir, an impersonal approach where you feel like a commodity rather than a person. Can I tell you, the things you guys are saying are so, yes, there's first of all, they're so valid that you are saying them. And I hear a lot of people complaining about this. There's some things that really need to get changed. And you guys are on the forefront of being able to help make that change. So then I would like you to take each one of the things you just typed in the chat box and turn it around into, what does this tell you you actually desire? So for example, Stephanie, this is a kind of an easy one because it's got a knot on the front of it, sort of, in. So Stephanie's might be congruent leadership instead of incongruent leadership. I'll just add another drain. Ginny says, cross-functional teams without shared goals. Yes. So if you would each take those drains and turn them around, into a desire. What are they telling you your desire? So if you would take just a moment and type that in, love to see what you come up with there. It's essentially, what's the opposite? And you want to frame that in the most positive way that you can. Right, so Amir's impersonal approach might be a personal approach where you get to feel like a person. Let's see. Kiara, control over the pacing of work. Yes. Omar, clear, decisive leadership and decision making. Yeah. Catherine says, consistent vision and goals with clear planning. Ginny says, teams all working together in harmony to reach goals and success. Yes. And I invite you to literally feel in your body the difference between that drain and then when you turn it around into your desire. How is that making you feel? And remember when we were checking in with your heart, that your heart feels better with these. Yeah, Emily, not judging anyone or caring about wealth. So I might want to do a little tune up here. I invite you to leave the words no and not out of your desires. So it might be a judgment-free workplace, or a place where everyone is welcome regardless of their wealth. There's a little tune-up, but hopefully you can see that it brings it up a level. It's more inspiring that way. It also tells you more of what you really do want. So I'm not trying to correct you here. I'm just trying to make a change so that, yeah, so that you get more out of this. Yes, Emily, that's a beautiful way to say it. Liking people for what they are instead of what they own. Yes. Amir says, get to know people and what drives them to be better, to be great. Yes, absolutely. You all have so much to bring to the workplaces where you are. Your level of sensitivity is sensational. So I also would love to hear, what are some gains for you in work? Whether it's in your current work, maybe not. Sometimes work is just so bad that that's why you're looking to make a change. So it could be either your current work or your past work. I would love you to type in the chat box something that's a gain for you in work. I'm super curious to read, what are your energy gains in your workplace or have been? Stephanie, conducting research, writing, interviewing interesting people. Ooh, that sounds fun. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and I just invite you, Stephanie, and for each of you, as you write down your energy gains, notice how it makes you feel in your body. Probably very different than your drains. And we want to minimize your drains and maximize your gains. That's part of creating a role that truly fits. Catherine, mentoring and helping people find what they like to do and giving them the tools to do it. Yes. Kiara, connecting with someone as we solve a problem together. Ooh, isn't that nice? Lovely. Lovely, really connecting. Okay. Omar, setting a team goal, achieving it, and sharing the success and kudos equitably. Wow. Can you all get the feeling of who you are as a group of people on tonight's webinar? And I know the people who are going to be watching the replay, you can feel this. Hopefully you feel in your body the difference between a drain. Maybe a drain makes you feel tired or heavy or tight, right? And then you can just shake that off and feel into how an energy gain feels for you. Maybe it feels light or bubbly or open, very different. And that's a good thing. It means your body's signaling you appropriately. And you want to actually use that to start saying, oh, wait, I'm getting drained a lot. And as much as you can, pare down the drains and start spending time with energy gains. All right, I'm going to move into the process that I use with people to reinvent your role. So this is return on life energy. And it's also your role, your job. The reinvention process. I'm going to take you through these 8 steps that I do with people so you have this for yourself. The very first step is to commit to change. Once you make that commitment, it's like there's a ton of energy right behind you. The thing is, when we're wishy-washy, it's like if you're going to be in the flow and you're wishy-washy, oh, maybe did it. No, maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. It's like, how is that energy going to find you and carry you if you're just all over the place? You're like, yes, I'm going for it. So it's a lot about having faith from the start. Having faith that, yes, this change is going to work for me. And that's very internal. And a lot of the work that I do with people when I'm working with them one-on-one is helping them create that internal environment so that they're committed to the change, so that they feel that faith within themselves. And faith happens with lack of evidence. We don't have evidence. It's just a feeling that we don't have to have from external. We generate it in ourselves. So how can you generate the commitment to change? Then we look at the framework we just did of maximizing your role. So you can write down all of your energy drains, write down all of your energy gains, turn around your energy drains into your desires, and tune up your energy gains into your desires. And then you'll have a list of what you're actually looking for. That's the role you want. You also want to use your past to tell you what it is that you may have been missing, like that you're longing for in your heart. And that's to tap into your leaps. And leaps, in my vernacular, in my terminology, is life energy activation points. So look at the places in your life that have been pivotal, transitional moments for you. They can be any kind of a transition. It might be a marriage, a divorce, a getting sick, finishing college, finishing a major degree, leaving a particular job. They don't all have to be happy, and they also don't have to be big deals. It might be that you saw a particular sunset and it took your breath away and you felt differently about life ever since. It's like your life energy activated in that moment. So I encourage you to write a list of those and then start seeing what your life themes are. And a nice way to do that is decade by decade or every 5 years in your life, and looking at those periods and like, what were my leaps then? You're more likely to remember recent ones, by the way, than, when I was 3 years old. Like, I'm not expecting you to do that. But really look at, where is your life energy built up? You also want to choose role maximizing skills. So something else I encourage people to do is make a list of all of your skills and then look at the skills that give you back the most energy when you do them, and use those in interesting combinations. And you're essentially creating constellations or combinations of the skills you most like using. So for me, I most like strategizing and being personal. And guess what? That's what I get to do. I get to strategize with people about their careers and be really, really personal. So what is it that are your top skills? Not the ones that are the most marketable. That's not what I'm saying. I'm actually saying using the skills that you get the most return on life energy, that fill you and thrill you. I want to just go back because I got a question from Catherine. LEAP is life energy activation points. Thank you for that question, Catherine. Love it. Then I encourage you to consider new ways of working. One new way of working is to have a slash career, right? I'm an author slash coach slash speaker. Another new way of working is working virtually, right? I have a client right now in Finland. Oh my gosh, I don't live in Finland. I've never been to Finland. So working virtually is another way to work. There are many different new forms of work. So when I'm working with people, when I'm coaching people in career reinvention, I'll very often help them to generate new ways of thinking about their constellation of role maximizing skills to put it together in ways that they hadn't even thought of before. For example, right now I'm working with an HR representative, and she's been a life coach, but I happened to say to her, what if you could coach other HR representatives? And boom, she was so excited. Like, wow, what about a cool specialty in that? So it's like putting things together in interesting combinations and permutations that you might not have thought of before. Then this is about dipping those toes of yours in the water. Set up explorations that will let you test these before you have to jump all the way in and give everything up to do what you're going to do next. So what explorations or experiments can you conduct for yourself that will let you put a toe in the water rather than jumping straight on in? And finally, what toes will you put in the water? So you set up the explorations that might be like taking a class, you enroll in the class, or that you set up a conversation with somebody who's doing something you're interested in. And then you go do it. You put your toes in the water. So let me just ask, are there any questions about this process that I've just laid out for you? Anything you'd like to know? Any ideas that this brings up for you, or thoughts? What does this inspire in you? Let me just ask, does this make sense to people? Yeah. Can I run through the constellations again? Yeah, constellations is about, so if you make a list of the skills that maximize your role the most, the skills you most like using, then it's like putting them together in interesting different combinations and permutations. So I encourage you to make a list of not more than 10 skills that you really love, and then just start playing with them 2 at a time and saying, what if, so I'll give you an example. I have a client who, she had been a marketing manager for many, many years. And I asked her to make a list of her role maximizing skills. And on that list were 2 things that you might think have nothing to do with work. One of them is gardening and the other is gift wrapping. Like gift wrapping, I'm not going to go work it. There's not Christmas all year long where you can be a gift wrapper, right? So, but she saw those two things together and she said, oh my God, what if I had a garden gift shop? And she actually experimented. She dipped her toes in the water by working with garden shops, nurseries, and creating a little gift section for them because people don't give. They might give each other a plant, but they usually go buy, flowers at a flower shop or, the grocery store. But she experimented with having a garden gift section. And she did that by setting it up with gardening stores, and nurseries. And she learned a lot about it. And then 2 years later, she opened her own garden gift shop. That wouldn't have happened if she hadn't looked at those skills and just played around with combinations. So I hope that makes sense to you. Rick, you said this inspires you to think deeply about all the pieces before making a decision of what it is. Yeah. And I would encourage you not to think too hard, not to figure too hard, but also to allow yourself to bring in that beautiful heart of yours. Okay. Let's see. I won't say who this is, but somebody asked the question, how can I be different when the majority of people believe in a 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. office job with a commute? Okay, so part of that is in you breaking out of the mindset. How many of you on today's call really want a workplace where you start at 7 in the morning and go till 6 at night? Would you please type in the chat box, yes. Okay, we got an instant nope. Okay, so Manish, you are not run away. Most people don't want that. So you happen to be caught in a thought wave of people who either wants it, but probably doesn't even really want it. They've just fallen prey to it. It's like it just, like says, run away screaming. I love it. Not just run away like Kiara says, run away screaming. I think you have to open your mind, and it is important to talk to people who don't have that. I think I've always surrounded myself with contrarians. So when I was in business school, I hung out with artists and performers all the time. Why? Because they helped me have so much more balance in my thinking. Because my MBA classmates were like, drive. And more than half my class went into investment banking or management consulting. And yeah, they were the people who drove themselves crazy. So, in regards to this question, I think it's really about you getting yourself around some different people who think differently, because most of the world actually doesn't really want that, but they can pay lip service to it. Stephanie, about this role reinvention process is I think it gives people hope because it's such a creative yet practical path forward. Yes, that's exactly it. And this came to me, this is, in the same way that I talked about not having a flash. This framework did not come to me in a flash. This came to me over time in working with people. And, I love sharing it because there's wisdom in it. And there's new things I evolve in this all the time. All right, I want to move on from this. And I want to ask you, I've given you a lot here, but some of you may be thinking, well, I still need more support to reinvent my own role here. I want to find my own way. How do I do that? And I want to say that I do offer individual coaching. By the way, I'm going to leave some time for some other material here, but I do want to let you know, I want to make a special offer to those of you who may be interested. And I got a little more for you at the end, all of you. I do individual coaching. And you can visit sensationalshift.com/coaching, or just go to sensationalshift.com and click on individual coaching to find out how to work with me. Now, normally, I am not cheap, but if you work with me for a single strategy session, individual, longer-term coaching is less, but a single strategy session with me is $495. But hang on, I really want to help the people who bothered to be here tonight. So I want to let you know that when you do a career strategy session with me, I listen to what's happening with you. Then I give you my best advice, guidance, and insight. And it's something called an urgent care for your career 60-minute session. And in that session, you get my best expertise. You actually get from me I'm going to go back one. You get from me clarity questions that will help you have clarity before we even get on the phone. You'll also get from me, I record you. We can either meet on Skype so you can see each other, or by phone, and that's recorded so you can keep that forever. And you get my notes from the session. And it's really a deep dive that starts even before we talk with the clarity questions that I send you. And sometimes those alone will bring you relief. I want to let you know that I'm going to take $250 off of this for those of you who are attending. So if you would like to have an urgent care for your career, hour-long session with me, I would love to do that with you. And instead of it being $495, you get to make it about half. That $250 off. It's actually more than it, just a little more than half. So I would love to save you that money, but you do need to register for it by this Friday, June 26th. So you'll go on to my website, sensationalshift.com, go under individual coaching, pick urgent care for your career, and then type in the discount code 7shifts. That's the number 7 and the word shifts, all capitalized, by this Friday, June 26th, and you'll save $250 with me. Now you have to use the session itself by July 31st. And my summertime is a little slower, so it's a time I can actually make time for you. And you can have one discounted session with me. I would love to do that. And I work with people by phone or Skype, and that's so I can record it. Omar, I do love Lake Merritt. I really love Lake Merritt, but I always want to make sure that, one, you get privacy with me, and two, the recording is so valuable. I'll give you an example. I can't promise this for everybody, but there was a one-liner, one little thing I said in a session I had with somebody, it's about 6 months ago, where I suggested to him how to negotiate with his boss for a change. That was a $5,000 benefit to him. He increased his salary and the benefit and he changed his job in a way that he really loved. If he didn't have that recording, he's like, "What did you say?" I don't remember every tiny thing I said. It's like I don't have a script in advance where I know what I'm going to say. So I couldn't have done that without the recording. So I want to just tell you that I do record those sessions. I just wanted to let you know that that's the benefit of doing it that way. So thought I'd share that with you. But I really want to invite you to that. So I'll send you a follow-up email that's got all the details in it. But if you'd like to do that with me, I would love to do that with you. And it's the only time of the year I do anything half price. So I rarely discount my work, but this time I'm doing that. So I want to, this slide showed up differently. This should have been a totally different font. But okay, I've got a surprise here. I want to open this up for any questions that you may have at this time. We've got about another 15 minutes or so. What other questions does this bring up for you? I would love to take the time to answer those for you. Anything about your career, anything about the framework that I've covered, of any of the 7 shifts, anything about, I'll just go back a little bit. Whoops. The role reinvention process. What questions do you all have that might have to do with what's going on in your own situation? There's probably something that brought you to tonight's call. So what, if any, questions? And you can also, I would love to see your comments about what you're taking away from tonight, where you might still be needing something or something that really changed your perspective or changed your energy tonight. Love to see that in the chat box. So please use the chat box now and share either a question or an observation or a thought. It can be a complaint if it needs to be. That's okay too by me. Well, I'm going to jump ahead here to the questions. Okay, I'm gonna wait. Hang on, I got a good question. Is money? This is a private question, but I'm going to share it with everybody. I won't identify who it's from. Okay, isn't money critical, especially here in the San Francisco Bay Area? We can't make changes that will affect salary. Pay has to increase, which also increases stress. I want to address this one really directly, Manish. Oh, sorry, it's everybody's. Manish, I'm really, really sorry, but I really need you to know that this is everybody's question. I cannot tell you how many people are asking me this question right now. The Bay Area has gotten astronomical. Susan Bernstein's personal prediction that we are going to see an exodus of 5% or more of the population in the next year. Why? Because this isn't sustainable. When people are spending 50% or more of their salary on housing, it's unsustainable. So there are some things that have gone particularly crazy in this, and many people are saying that this is a bubble. I get so many private calls and conversations with people about exactly this. There are people who are starting to look outside the Bay Area because you are right. There are also people exploring all kinds of interesting options. One of my friends is doing something as a big experiment for a year. This may or may not be something you would ever want to do, but she rented a big, I want to say mobile home, but it's really like an Airstream. And she's trying that out as a place to live because she can live wherever she wants. Now, some people own houses and have mortgages, and like, okay, you could rent your place out. Some people have whole families, and like that's different. This is why we're seeing more people talking about tiny homes. So you have to ask yourself, for all of you, what really matters to you? And the thing that I'm hearing more and more and more of from people is what really matters to them is freedom. The freedom to move about, the freedom to leave work when they want to. So sometimes this is about you creating your own work. But Manish, I want you to know, and everybody on the call, and everybody out there, yes, money is critical, but your choices, like how you, what is starting to happen for people now around their careers is that it's not just a career decision by itself. It's a much bigger life decision, and it's more about your lifestyle than it is about your career alone. So I invite you, if you have a family, to sit down with your family and ask what really, really matters. I have watched families pare down. I have a very, very, very dear friend who lives on the peninsula. They've been renting as a family of four for 14 years. They went to look to buy, and anything decent was $1.8 million or more. I'm not talking about a mansion. I'm talking about something decent, a little bungalow in San Mateo, a little something in Palo Alto. $1.8 million where I grew up in Phoenix still buys a mansion on a mountain. So we have some really interesting choices that we have to make. And I would really deeply encourage you all, if you have a loved one or significant other, you're not on your own, sit down with them, sit down with your kids and ask. I have a client of mine in Canada who couldn't stand anymore the city that they were living in and how pricey it was. They sat down with the family and said what mattered. And they made a decision actually to move to a small island. They never expected that. But, you know, they're like, well, our quality of life matters. I have one of my clients right now who lives in the city, and the biggest thing that she wants, the city, I mean, for those of you who aren't from here, we use the cities, San Francisco. She's constantly in the city, and one of the things she wants more than anything, and she's in her early 30s, is to have a place where she can take her dog for a walk that's not concrete. She'd like to have a grassy backyard for her and her dog. Isn't that nice? But in San Francisco, it's crazy, excuse me, hella expensive these days. So she's looking at what other cities make sense. So you brought up a really important, juicy, deep question that there's a deep dive to do here. And I work with people on this if that's something you want to explore. Rick, thank you for saying it's great common sense advice about all the areas to consider when making or mapping a change. Thank you. And the role, return on life energy, helps with all kinds of decisions. So I invite you to bring that to even, you know, housing and things like that. Kiara says, a great recharge to get focused on all this again. Wonderful. And Omar, you prefer the town, Oaktown. Well, I'm a little biased. I really love Oakland. Any other questions, thoughts, anything else you'd like to share? Well, I want to go on and ask you to ask yourself, what's one shift that you're going to make as a result of what you've learned today? So I would love you actually to type that shift. It could be something teeny weeny, it's okay. It might be, I'm going to think about things differently. I'm going to tune into my heart. I'm going to write down my role and go, you know, write down my dreams, gains, and desires. What is it that what's a shift, one little shift you're going to make as a result of what you've learned today? Would you type that in the chat box, please? Omar says, let's see, Rick says, I'm going to write down my priorities. Wonderful. Omar, clustering skills and interesting combinations. That is so much fun. Yes. Wonderful. What else? What are some of the other people on today's webinar going to do? What's the shift you're going to make as a result? Kiara, get back to the meditation cushions so I can hear my heart better. Ooh, love that. Stephanie, I'm going to sign up for a class in a field which I'd like to teach in one day. Wow, beautiful. Way to go. Love hearing that. Raphael, don't be afraid to change. Okay. Amir, write things out more rather than journal on my computer. Yes, handwriting, it really builds that neural muscle and makes more change. I have to tell you, I've gone back to my paper journal and love it. Catherine, consider leaps and roll maximizing skills in the constellations. Wonderful. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I invite all of you to take those shifts and share the commitment. Remember that commitment makes change happen. Share that commitment with a colleague and then set a check-in date to follow up. Ask that person, could I check in? Let's see. Emily says, know that I can't do everything in one fell swoop. That's right. Yeah. And so asking yourself, what's the one thing, one itty bitty move I could make today? It's a great question to ask yourself. Well, I want to say a big, huge thank you to all of you. It's such a pleasure being with you. You can connect with me at sensationalshift.com. You're welcome to call me. My number is 415-508-8250. You can also email me. It's not on there, at info@sensationalshift.com. I'm on Twitter at Dr. S. Bernstein. And our Facebook page is facebook.com/sensational shift, all one word. So if you look up Sensational Shift, all one word, on Facebook, you'll find us. And I love to post great things that are useful for your career. Oh, thank you, Kiara. You're the bomb, too. I really enjoyed being with you all tonight. I'm going to be sending out within 24 hours a link for the recording to this so you can watch again and again. Please share this with your friends. And if you're interested in a session with me, remember to book that, to make sure you've paid for it by this Friday. It's really super discounted, so I never do this. So take advantage of it if you're interested. You only need to have the session by the end of July, so you got time. And thank you, Omar, de Bizom. Yes, you guys have all been great. Thank you, thank you. Stay in touch. You can reach me always. If you're not on my newsletter, by the way, you'll find that on sensationalshift.com on the homepage in the right-hand column to be with us. Thank you all. My deep appreciation for you being here. You are really, I'm so touched by all the things you're up to in the world, what you care about. Please know that everything you care about in the workplace matters. We need your voices to speak up and say that we need real work hours, that we need to treat each other with respect, that we need to have clear guidance about what we're doing. We need all of this. Thank you all so very, very deeply. I'm going to hang on for just a little more. Wave goodbye to you and thank you deeply from the bottom of my heart. Please do stay in touch and let me know how I can be helpful to you. Yes, thank you, Manish and Raphael and Stephanie and Amir and Ginny and Rick. So glad this has been valuable to you. Yay. All right, everybody, have a wonderful evening. And I'll be seeing you some other time soon. Bye for now.